Late through the evening hours, a car drives on a lonely desert highway road. The man behind the wheel does his best to fight off the boredom. If it weren't for all the static and country music on every other station, he'd listen to the radio. But alas, he'll have to settle for the view of the night-drenched landscape instead. Fortunately for him, his car is slowly approaching a hill in the road. It isn't much, but at least it'll break the monotony of having driven on a straight and flat highway for the past few hours. He drives up and over the hill with no issues, but as his car descends, he spots something curious in the distance. He isn't exactly sure what it is at first, but as he gets closer, he's eventually able to distinguish what it is. A young woman standing near the side of the road wearing a white dress. She had porcelain skin with long hair as black as the night draping over her face. What the hell is she doing all the way out here, the man ponders. There isn't anything nearby for hours. Thinking the woman may be lost, the man begins to slow down, trying to decide if he should pick her up or not. But just as he gets closer, a chill envelops him. Despite being in the middle of the desert, her hair looks particularly drenched, as if she had just taken a shower, and even though her hair is draping over most of her face, the parts left uncovered look a bit disturbing to the man. She had a smile that seemed unnatural in some way, but most alarming of all was her large eyes that were peeking through the strands of wet hair, looking directly at him. The woman's eerie appearance was so jarring that it was enough to change the man's decision about letting her into his car. He proceeded to step on the gas and drive away. Even though she was just a young woman, something about her gave the man a very bad feeling. It was probably for the best, he tells himself. She could have been luring me to stop the car while her friends waited in the dark to carjack my vehicle, the man surmises, not wanting to admit he was just flat out spooked by the woman. After a few minutes of driving through a stretch of more flat highway, his car slowly approaches another hill. Just like before, he has no issues driving up and over it. But as he drives downward, he spots something again on the other side of the road in the distance. It isn't too long before he sees that it's another person. However, a feeling of uneasiness begins to creep up on him when he realizes that not only is it another woman, but a woman who looks eerily similar to the one he saw earlier. "It can't be," the man blurts out. As he drives closer, it becomes more apparent that the woman looks exactly like the one before. She too has a white dress, porcelain skin, and a face covered by wet hair that was as black as the night, with large eyes peeking through the strands. However, this time, she was closer to the side of the road, and her unnatural smile was even disturbingly wider. She stares directly at him as his car nears. The man doesn't hesitate. He steps on the gas and speeds past her. Eventually, the night obscures the sight of her from his passenger side mirror. "There's no way that's the same woman," the man nervously tells himself. "There's no way she got there quicker than I did. It's impossible. People must be out here trying to prank drivers or something." But despite his attempts to assure himself that nothing strange is going on, he is shaken by the situation. To make matters worse, he sees another hill in the distance. A feeling of fear begins to overtake him. He is frightened at the thought of what he might see on the other side, but despite his apprehension, he isn't willing just yet to give in to the idea that something unexplainable is happening. He continues to drive, and just like before, he drives up and over the hill. But just like before as well, as his car descends, he once again sees something in the distance. He is inundated with a feeling of terror. "No, it can't be," the man yells out. But as he drives closer, his doubt soon turns into horror upon the realization that it is indeed a woman. And just like before, she too has a white dress, porcelain skin, and wet hair as black as the night, with large eyes peeking through the strands. She is also practically standing on the edge of the road, and her unnatural smile is now so wide it almost stretches from ear to ear. Both the man and the woman look directly at each other as his car nears. The man screams as he steps on the gas, speeding past her. How? How is she able to travel so fast? He asks himself while almost hyperventilating. What is going on? Even though he can't explain it, he just somehow knows deep down that it's the same woman as before, or the same thing as before. He had always heard tales about desolate highways being haunted, but not until this very moment did he believe any of it. What does she want? He thinks to himself. His eyes shift back and forth, side to side as he observes his surroundings, feeling scared beyond belief. Even though he wasn't planning on making any stops this soon on his trip, he is too terrified to continue driving through the night. He's come to the decision that he'll take the next exit he sees, but he knows that it may not be for at least another hour. Unfortunately for the man, he sees another hill in the distance. A sense of dread overwhelms him. He is frightened at the thought of what could be waiting once again on the other side. But as much as he doesn't want to keep driving, he has no choice. He figures he's no safer going back or parking out in the middle of nowhere. Despite being terrified, he conjures up the will to continue ahead. He tells himself that he'll just drive as fast as he can if he sees her again. With his hands shaking and his breathing shallow, his car drives up and over the hill. Even though it feels as if his heart is about to jump out of his chest, he reluctantly looks to see what is on the other side waiting for him in the distance. And it's nothing. To the man's shock and relief, the woman is nowhere in sight. Still feeling overly paranoid, he continues to survey his surroundings as he drives. But after minutes pass by without a sign of the woman anywhere, he is able to finally take a deep breath. Is that it? He wonders. Is she gone? A smile registers on his face, feeling relieved. It's over, he tells himself. And to add even more good news to his current situation, he sees that there doesn't seem to be any more hills in the distance. He begins to laugh at himself. I can't believe I scared myself like that, he says, feeling slightly embarrassed. Of course it was just some kids playing a prank. I should actually go back there and teach them a lesson. But despite his joyous mood, he is still feeling a bit rattled by the incident. He's not fully convinced that there is a fully rational explanation for what just happened. No matter, he'll worry about it later. Wanting to calm his nerves, he starts fumbling again with the radio, looking to see if there is finally something decent to listen to. After hearing nothing but static on the first couple of stations, he finally comes upon one with a contrasting sound. He intently listens, confused at first at what he's hearing, but a cold chill soon encapsulates him when he realizes what it is. The sound of a female crying. Just then, a pair of porcelain-skinned hands stretch out from behind the driver's seat. The hands grab his head, the fingers digging into his face, and the man lets out a blood-curdling scream. The car swerves out of control on the highway. It isn't too long, however, before it eventually drives off to the side of the road, crashing into a large rock. The car horn blares into the night as the vehicle comes to a full stop. An hour passes before a highway patrol car is the first to come upon the scene. When the trooper checks on the driver, he is met with a gruesome sight. The man's dead body, still strapped into his seatbelt, with his bloodied head looking in the other direction, having been twisted 180 degrees on its neck. Despite the horrific nature of the deceased, the trooper quickly moves on to inspect the rest of the car. To his relief, there isn't anybody else in the vehicle. But just at that moment, something catches the trooper's attention. Some kind of noise was coming from the trunk of the car. The trooper quickly pops open the lid to look in, and when he does, he is shocked at what he sees. There, lying in the trunk, is a frightened and crying little girl. Her hands and legs tied with rope, her mouth duct taped to prevent her from making a sound. After quickly freeing the little girl from her restraints, the trooper lifts her up and proceeds to carry her towards his vehicle. But just as she is being cradled in the trooper's arms, the little girl herself is cradling something in her own. A little doll. with a white dress, porcelain skin, a smile with cracks on the sides of its mouth, large eyes, and hair as black as the night that looks as if it's been drenched with the little girl's tears. Thank you to all of you who support us through Patreon. You're simply the best. And a very special thanks to the Dark Cosmos and Christina.